We're live. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of 305 Takes. We know this isn't our normally scheduled time, but we got a special guest coming on. We're going to talk some Miami sports, Dolphins, Heat, and we're also going to basically kind of have a debate. We have someone that's going to create a starting five, and it's going to go up against me and Myles. And that one I'm pretty excited for because now we can generally test because we had some comments on our YouTube about our starting five, and bro, they were just not good comments.
Yeah. People are gonna hate all the time, so whatever. Obviously, when you're discussing grades too, and you're gonna be discussing people's favorite players, they're gonna get their opinion off their chest. But it is what it is. We're all having fun here, but I still think our team is pretty damn good.
Bro, I feel like we did good.
Yeah.
Like like
I don't
so
think I don't think it was like one of those lists where you look back and you're like, oh, this person clearly forgot about this player, and that's the only reason they're not on their team. Like I
yeah,
thought
because I don't
we
think we spent like a good like what 20 minutes
Yeah,
building
that's what I
them.
was gonna say. We put some time into it too, so it wasn't like something we just put together like top of our head. Like we actually put some time together, and we were thinking like, okay. My first question to you was, what era are we playing in? Because it changes the whole dynamic of how I'm going to try to build a team. And then my second question is, are we playing like to win a championship? Or are we just playing to win this game? Like what's going on here?
Yep. So and there was a couple of more comments on Instagram, but this one had this is actually a very solid lineup. This one put Eugene. They said Magic, Kobe, MJ, KG, Shaq. So not a bad lineup. Not bad. It's not bad. Uh, but we'll talk more about lineups later on when our special guest, and for anyone who doesn't know, our special guest is a good friend of the show. He's been on before, Jacob Moya. He has a lot of knowledge, and once he hops in, we'll we'll get into more stuff. But I think we can kind of start off just with me and Miles' perspectives now and the best NFL offseason moves so far. So it could be a series of moves or just one move that's got you like saying, bro, this is it.
Yeah. So I don't want to be that guy, but I really kind of liked what the Dolphins did this offseason.
I'm
And
not gonna shame you on that.
yeah, I just, I don't want to be the hometown guy, pumping up my team, but I starting off with getting Vic Fangio as defensive coordinator, a name that was, circled around for a bunch of teams that were potentially interested in acquiring him to run the defense. And he comes down here, and then you go ahead and you trade for Jalen Ramsey. I think like if that was just the only two moves they made this offseason, I would honestly be fine with it because especially what we've seen of Fangio's defense, he's got a defensive line that we think should be continued to improve with last year's midseason pickup of Bradley Chubb. We also have Jalen Phillips, Christian Wilkins. So you have a defensive line that is already intact. You have, I would say, smart safeties. Javon Holland's one of the more underrated players that I think we have in the NFL right now. You already have X who, had a little bit of a down year last year, but also considering there really wasn't anything else in the secondary that was scaring you. I don't think a
And they
lot of
also cut Byron.
yeah, cut Byron after. Well, it also seemed like Byron might have retired based off of that tweet that
Bro,
he
those
sent out.
tweets he put out was just like saying, I'm retiring.
Yeah, that tweet sound because especially when he was like it was an honor and a privilege to play in the NFL. But yeah, Byron who didn't play last year because of injury, and it was really depleted secondary group as it was, even with X out there, a couple undrafted guys playing a lot, and we were talking about it. One of the moves that they made was re-signing Nick Needham, who is like their slot corner, and he was out all of last year as well. So I think just getting more healthy on that defense, bringing in Ramsey, bringing in Fangio, and I think you should be looking at a pretty solid defense. Like I know it's not going to be overnight, and there's probably going to be games where they're still going to be gash, but when you look at what they've invested as far as you got two first round picks of your own and Phillips and Wilkins on the defensive line, another draft pick in Roquan Davis on the defensive line as well. Then you traded for Bradley Chubb, traded a first rounder for Bradley Chubb. Then at linebacker, you have your former second round overall pick, Jerome Baker, and then you have David Long, who you brought in this offseason too. So there's a lot of investment in this defensive line, in this defense in general. You have a second round pick in Javon Holland at safety, X is a former second-round pick, just traded for Jalen Ramsey, who former first-round pick. I know not of the Dolphins, but just considering the talent and the pedigree that these guys come from, there should be enough there for I would say at least a top 10 defense at least. But you have to consider injuries and everything like that, and just getting on the same page with the new defensive coordinator. But really, I mean, if you look at it, if that defense maybe could have helped out a little bit more last year, I know it was a lot going on with Tua and his injury and everything, but there were some games where I thought, if the defense would have played a little bit better,
That's fair. That is completely fair.
Would have been a different season for us. But I like the offseason in general. I mean, the Mike White signing, I think it was obvious
That's legendary.
to pretty much anybody that we needed a backup quarterback that they trusted, and they went ahead. It was like the first or second day of free agency where they got that one done.
Yeah, that one was like really quick.
And it's been pretty cool to see him, share that it's, a homecoming from him. That picture of him as a little kid wearing the Miami Dolphins jersey was super cool for them to put out the day that he signed. And then I want to see this David Long signing because, on paper, he racks up the tackles. Like, he's a guy that's always going to be around the football. There's the highlight of him basically sealing that game last year, picking off Carson Wentz, basically on the goal line to end that game for Tennessee. The only thing is he is a little injury prone. I believe he's only played 14 or more games 2 out of the last 4 years. So there is a little bit wear and tear on that body, which, I mean, linebacker almost is kind of like running back, where it's like a little bit disposable. Guys are coming in and out. So if he can hold up, I think it's a great signing. And especially at the price, 2 years, $11 million. I thought the Dolphins knew what their weaknesses were and clearly attacked it throughout this offseason. And we still have the draft to get to as well. So we'll see how they fill out the rest of the roster.
Yeah, no, that's actually, I can't complain. I do like what the Dolphins did. And we are going to be talking about them, shortly. But if I had to go best offseason moves or moves so far, we talked about it. I love the CJ Gardner-Johnson signing for the Detroit Lions. 1 year, $8 million. You're getting one of the best safeties in football for a 1 year rental, and it's going to be for a team that, we could be honest, they should have been in the playoffs. It's nothing against like Minnesota and that they didn't play well. It was just at the end of the season, it's hard to really like not say Detroit was playing better football than Minnesota, because when Detroit was winning their games, it was like there wasn't like a close call. No, they were legit beating teams.
It's hard to say that at the end of the season there was a team even playing better than the Detroit Lions, period, regardless of division or anything like that. When they went into New York and beat the hell out of the Giants, when everybody was like, "Oh, Danny Dimes."
And the Giants just the Giants
ran through the Vikings in the playoffs. So like that's exactly. I think the Lions were playing great football, and even when they didn't have anything to play for at the end of the season on that Sunday night game, they went into Lambeau and
Rodgers.
I think it's basically confirmed now, but they basically ended Aaron Rodgers' career as a Packer.
Man, what we should have done, we should have looked up to see. Oh no, Brett Favre's last game as a Packer was against the Giants. No, it was against the Giants. Imagine if they both would have had the same thing. They both ended their career against.
Well, it could have, because they added that rule. I think it was like 2014, where you play division opponent. Everybody plays a divisional opponent the last week of the season. So it could have been a possibility if that rule was intact. And just to go back to your point with CJ Gardner-Johnson, I mean, if you look at what the Lions did against slot receivers last year, they got absolutely torched. So this is how they ranked in each of these statistics in the NFL. They gave up the 7th most targets to slot receivers last year. Gave up the 31st most total yards to slot receivers last year. Yards per attempt to a slot receiver, 32nd in the NFL, which is last for all of you that do not know. Expected play EPA allowed per pass to a slot receiver, 32nd. Success rate to any pass to a slot receiver, 32nd. So I think CJ Gardner-Johnson,
address a need.
I think it was definitely a need. And, he gets back. Their defensive coordinator in Detroit right now is Aaron Glenn, who was in New Orleans with CJ Gardner-Johnson before, they both parted ways. And Aaron Glenn went to Detroit, and CJ finished this last year with the Philadelphia Eagles. And I do like that move in general because I mean we saw that Lions defense get lit up time after time after time, and it's not even like you can be mad at them because I think last year was a year too early for them to really be competitive. But now when you realize like, okay, we were this good last year, probably earlier than we expected. Let's try to bring in some veterans around the street
Yeah,
that we already have. You got Dan Campbell who's trying to build a culture over here, and they still have 2 first-round picks. So like
yep,
there's a lot. And one of your first-round picks last year was Jameson Williams, who really didn't get his career off because he's coming off an injury going into the NFL. So it's basically almost you can add 3 first-round picks going into
yeah.
this year.
No, and I mean the 2 first round picks, depending on who they get, a sneaky first round pick. I thought they could do based off of the other moves they made, like how we mentioned Sutton adding to their secondary. I felt, man, a move that can work for them, but they already addressed it when they got Montgomery. I was gonna say they draft Bijan Robinson, but I'm good. Before I continue, we are gonna bring in our guest, good friend of the show, Jacob Moya. What's good, bro?
So
What's
Moyo,
up, guys? Thanks for having me.
of course,
Appreciate you
man.
guys having me on.
No problem.
Thanks for
So we
joining.
talked about like best NFL season moves so far. So Miles kind of just went like he went like big picture. He said the Dolphins moves of Fangio, Ramsey, bringing back Nick Needham, David Long, even though that's kind of like a toss up with his injury history. I said the Detroit Lions with CJ Gardner Johnson because I think that was a steal. 1 year, 8 mil. So
I can't believe that price too.
yeah,
I
bro,
can't.
that's
The
cheap.
price is
Yeah.
insane.
That is cheap.
I'm a big fan of the Lions too, with Dan Campbell and stuff. I love his energy, and obviously him being a former Dolphins coach. I love what he's doing in Detroit.
So if you had to pick one move or a series of moves, which one do you think was the best?
I think it's still got to be the Finns, because you kind of like, I think like Vic Fangio is probably the best defensive coordinator in the league. You know, And I think that's something that we were like lacking on that side of the ball last year. Like, not that Josh Boyer is like a bad defensive coordinator, but Vic Fangio is like the top dog. He's like a true leader. He's almost like a second head coach. So that move paired with Jalen Ramsey, who I don't think he's lost a step at all. I think he was just, like in a bad situation last year, and he still had a really good year. He's still a big time impact player. So I think, I mean, that's huge, and you're adding him, plus like maybe the best defensive mind in football to an already like stacked, on paper talent wise defense. I think to me that's probably the most impactful. I mean, I know there's been some other moves. I think the Chiefs got Orlando Brown or somebody. He's a nice move. But yeah, I think it's still got to be the Finns.
I can't argue with that. I mean, it's a good set of moves. The only thing I was like, it's okay to because me and Miles talked about, bro. The Dolphins' defense was just bad. They were bad.
Yeah, and they shouldn't. I don't think they should have been as bad as they were. I think that was mostly coaching, and at the beginning of the year, they got depleted. Their secondary got like
Secondary
completely
got
depleted by
ravaged.
injuries.
Yeah,
Yeah,
secondary got ravaged.
so I think it was a little bit unfortunate, but I think Ramsey's like as durable as they come. I don't think he's ever really had like an injury, and I think you're getting guys back, and then you have probably you insert Vangio, and he can probably like manage the defense a little better. Maybe not blitzing as much, playing a little more zone. Maybe keep guys healthier. But yeah, I think it was last year was a little bit of a not a fluke, but just kind of bad luck.
That's fair. Miles, you got anything to add on top of it?
No, and just to your point, I think even X might have taken just a little bit of a step back last year. So I think it was even more important when you realize that you went ahead and added Jalen Ramsey because then it's
Yeah.
like, okay, even if X has taken a step back, now we have a guy that's been playing at an elite level with X who's also played at an elite level throughout his career. So we have two solid cornerbacks. So I'm really excited to see what happens with that Dolphins defense. And I was just saying, like, with the pedigree that they have with, trading Bradley Chubb, 2 first-round picks, and Phillips and Wilkins on the defensive line.
Loaded.
Yeah.
If you look at it, it's loaded.
Yeah, Javon at safety. And I mean, I'd like the Nick Needham move to bring him back because I thought he was good before he got injured last year. Keon Crossan, who played a lot because of the injuries, I thought was pretty good. So I think there is definitely
Kohu.
talent on Kohu was good, especially because he was an undrafted guy too. I think there is talent on that defense. I am curious to see what the plan is going into the draft for the Dolphins because I mean, I guess tight ends like the only thing I can really think of top of my head that I'm like, okay, this is like an actual need other than what seems like an annual tradition where we hate all of our offensive linemen outside of like two of them.
Yeah.
Like Armstead right now is like the only one I really trust. And then outside of that, it's just hopefully Tua doesn't just die back there.
Yeah, and even like the thing with X too. I mean, even he's probably wasn't playing at 100%, and I think you put another like alpha next to him, and it kind of might bring the best out of him.
Yeah, I
You know, again, and he'll be more motivated.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. As far as the draft, I mean, there's only really so much they can do. Yeah, tight end, I think definitely is probably like their top need. Who knows? Maybe like best player available falls to them. Maybe like Jahmyr Gibbs, hopefully, but I doubt it. But I wouldn't mind, you know, like Darnell Washington, and I honestly hope that they just load up on O line because I think that's like, you know,
It's
you got to
basically
keep
needed
Tua up.
now.
You got to keep Tua up. Like if we don't keep Tua up, then it like what's it all for? It's like all for nothing. So
yeah, I mean, they're basically going for it. Like they're all in. I mean,
exactly. Yeah.
You made the Tyreek Hill trade last year before the season started. Then you traded for Bradley Chubb in season, and now this offseason you go ahead and trade for Ramsey. And so they don't have they have 0 picks in the top 50, and so they traded a first round pick for Bradley Chubb in the middle of last year, and they sent a 3rd rounder for Ramsey this offseason, and then a 4th rounder this year goes to Kansas City in the Tyreek Hill trade, and then an additional 5th rounder goes to San Francisco for the Jeff Wilson trade. So most of your draft capital is already out of the building. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they trade down and try to acquire picks for next year, just to kind of push it down the road and see what will come up as far as needs going into next year. And at some point, they're going to have to decide on if they're going to extend Tua. And, you know, we've been talking about it on this show. It's basically known at this point. Once you invest in your franchise quarterback, you have to start hitting on the draft. You have to start hitting on the inexpensive players. So I wouldn't be surprised if they are moving down in this draft just to try to acquire a little bit more draft capital.
I love it though. I love the like, you know, F them picks. I mean, for like as long as I can remember, like in my lifetime, the Dolphins like never played it that way. So I'm all for.
And whenever they kept their picks, they would draft the wrong person.
Yeah, like the picks are hit or miss, anyways.
What's that guy's name? Dion Jordan. What was that guy?
Yeah,
Dion Jordan.
Oh my god!
I was so high on Dion Jordan, and then
when we traded up, I was like, "Oh, when does this ever
looks like
happen?
A stud.
This guy's gonna be a stud."
Yeah,
he looked like a stud, but
he did.
But I'm all for that. I don't mind them.
Charles Harris.
Charles Harris. I mean, like, yeah, or taking Jake Long 1st overall, like
Austin Jackson.
You know.
I could go on and on.
Yeah, Austin Jackson. that besides Tua and that draft was horrendous. Like,
you got Jalen the year after, so that and Javon. So at least
the 2021 draft was respectable. The first 3 picks were respectable for sure.
It was
that
good.
was by far Chris Greer's like best draft. But Chris Greer hasn't really been like a great drafter if you think about it. He's been very average drafting.
So I mean that does kind of set into it. You said how you love the approach, the F them picks. Now
we saw it win not too long.
We saw it win, but then that's where I get confused. I was like, if you don't win, bro, that's a failure. Because we talked about it. The Rams, they just looked bad this year because they just didn't have depth.
Anything.
They went all in. Yeah.
And then the Chiefs, when you look at it, the Chiefs, they signed Mahomes, and then they kind of really hit this draft out of the ballpark. They had a 7th rounder starting at safety. They had a 7th rounder take what was it, like 102-yard pick 6 back on Herbert on that
Watson, and then Pacheco, one of the last picks of the draft.
Pacheco, I love Pacheco. Yeah,
he's nasty.
Yeah, he's great.
Pacheco is so good, man.
And
he's great.
I feel like maybe 2 draft picks out of like their 9 last year didn't make the roster. Like that says how good they drafted last year.
Yeah, they hit it
But
out of
The
the ballpark.
Chiefs. I think it's hard also to compare yourself to the Chiefs too, because Pat. I think Pat like just he carries them so hard at times because he's
He's
such
such
like
a
an all
superstar.
world like anomaly of such a good quarterback that you can't really like try to be like them. But like you guys said, like Tua's on his rookie deal. I believe in Tua. I think we just got to keep him upright. He's good enough to win you big games, I think. Um, so just go for it, man. Why not? Like
Yeah.
you're littered with a lot of talent. So why not, add more, get better coaching, to put him in the best place to win. And
I just
like, why not?
no, it's shown. And I love what Mike McDaniels has done with the offense because the only thing I didn't like last year with his approach, because me and Myles thought this at the beginning of the year, the running game will be much better and it will help Tua in terms of pass protection, but it was mainly just passing the ball until like Jeff Wilson showed up. So
well,
at least maybe this
that's
year
one
now
of
they
my
could probably
concerns.
establish a running game.
Well, that's one of my concerns is because they ran it back with the entire running back room. And I
Yeah.
think it's like 9 million spread out over 3 or 4 backs. And it's like, would I rather just pay one guy 9 million? Like, would we rather have just traded for Dalvin Cook, which is a name I've seen that they, possibly called Minnesota to try to gauge some interest over there. But that's my only thing. I thought the running game would be a little bit bigger. And then when you look back at last year's, free agency, Cedric Wilson was pretty damn disappointing for
Yeah.
how much hype was coming in. So, and I've seen some things about them potentially being willing to listen to trade offers because I think if they trade him, they can save something like 7 million against the cap. But if they release him, they have to eat that dead money. So, and now that you bring in
Yeah.
Barrios, what does that mean for Wilson, a guy that plays in the slot, can be a return?
Zukama too. I really like him to like step into that third or fourth wide receiver role this year. I think he's a stud. I watched like his film last year. He does like he runs physical. He takes like end arounds, goes up for jump balls. I love him. I think McDaniel last year just realized that his studs are wide. Like he has two absolute studs outside.
Studs.
So, why am I going to pound the ball super hard? Like, let me just use my studs. And at the same time, he's a rookie head coach. So he has some growing pains too, like we saw in the playoff game and stuff. So I expect him to improve also. He probably will be a little more balanced this year, hopefully. But I don't really mind, Mostert and Wilson. I don't really mind that. Bringing Gaskin back was a little surprising, but he might not even make the team. So we got to see what they do still in the draft and in free agency. But I'm excited, man. I'm excited for this season coming up.
Yeah, definitely. We should have a pretty solid squad. And I was saying, with Fangio and with what we have on defense, I mean, I think it would be disappointing if we don't have a top 10 defense in the NFL,
Oh, for
considering
sure.
the coaching and the talent. So that was definitely something I'm looking forward to. And then, just kind of figuring out what they're going to do at tight end since Gesicki left for the New England Patriots. I know that they have Hunter Long, a guy they drafted a couple years ago, hasn't really played too much. I know
No, he's gone.
he's
They
gone.
sent him. They sent him
Oh
to the
yeah,
Rams.
he's in the
Yeah,
Ramsey trade. I completely
yeah,
forgot. I completely
yeah.
forgot. Yeah, so I mean, it's pretty thin at tight end. So I
Durham Smythe, baby, Smythe. Smythe is he's okay. He
like
gets
he's
the
like a
job done as
solid
a
tight end, but he's not like a guy
solid.
you're looking for production from. So I
Yeah,
definitely do think that they'll either maybe somebody that doesn't make the roster later in the season when OTAs approach and minicamp and all that, or definitely look to address that position in
for sure.
the NFL draft. But just bouncing around some more moves that I I liked, but I don't know if I necessarily love them. I think the biggest winner from this free agency class would probably be Justin Fields because he actually gets a team around him now. They get DJ Moore.
Yeah, the
They get
Bears. Yeah,
some help on the defense. He's going to have he got Robert Tunyon, at least somebody to help him catch passes because last year what they were running out there besides him and besides Montgomery when he could actually get out there was pretty pitiful. So I think that was another winner just as a
definitely the Bears loaded up. In this they got Edmonds, T.J. Edwards.
yeah, they got
They
Moore,
got
they got Tremont
DJ
Edmonds, they
Moore,
got Nate Davis,
Picks.
Demarcus Walker, TJ Edwards. They
Yeah,
signed PJ Walker, which I thought was interesting.
I saw that today.
I
Yeah, it's
was like,
funny.
Okay. I wonder why. I mean, I get it that you need a backup, but still, I was just like, oh, that's a little interesting for your quarterback.
Yeah.
But they got 4 picks in the top 64 after
Yeah.
having the first pick and trading down. So there's definitely a solid foundation. I know Angel had mentioned that he liked Orlando Brown going to Cincinnati, which honestly really came
That's where
out
he
of
went. Yeah.
that really came out of nowhere, especially because I thought he was pretty good in Kansas City. He had a pretty good run in Kansas City after coming from the Ravens, and then
Hmm.
they traded that first round pick for him. So, and especially for him to go to like their chief rival right now, the Cincinnati
Yeah.
Bengals, the team that which each team has eliminated each other from the playoffs the last 2 years. I thought that was interesting. Any other moves that you liked for this offseason?
I think, yeah, I'm glad you touched on the Bears because I think now that I rethink, they brought in the most, so that's going to be pretty impactful compared to what the Finns do also, just because it's like a huge overhaul. But I think it's definitely between like the Bears and the Finns, still for sure. I mean, the Bears were they didn't have as much talent as we did, so they needed it, and they definitely like revamped for sure. I mean, trading the first, getting a number one wide receiver, some picks, a lot of help on defense. That's pretty solid for so far in the offseason.
Yeah, I agree. And for teams that I didn't like, was there any that you didn't like? Just looking at the first initial wave of free agency, the one that kind of made me scratch my head. I think he's a great player, but I just don't necessarily know if he's gonna fix this team's fortune. Was the Falcons signing Bates, giving him
Jesse
one of the
Bates.
large,
Yeah.
That
because
was
I
a
think
great
he's a
move.
great player. I think he's a great player, and I think he's been underrated the last couple of years. But 4 years, 64 million for a team that is going to be starting Desmond Ritter at quarterback, and
Yeah.
their
Football
best.
players want to get paid, man. Those guys put their bodies through hell. It's not like the NBA. Like they got to get their money. Like,
Yeah,
so even if they're
I
going to a
just
bad
I kind of
situation, like,
questioned it for the team. Like, is that really what they needed? Were they really a safety away? And it wasn't like it was like, oh,
no,
he
definitely
sat
not.
there on free agency.
They're
They were
half a
waiting
team
for him.
away,
Yeah.
half a team because they're a part of their offensive line is good. The other half is just bad. Defense, like they're pretty terrible. And then
Yeah, they're like
Desmond
a
Ritter
top
at quarterback. I was
bottom
never a
5 team.
believer in Ritter. I was like, bro, I would take a lot of quarterbacks over Desmond Ritter. It's not that he's bad. It's
You know
just
how many
he's
you
just
know how
not
many
good.
touchdown passes he threw last year?
Oh my god,
He
no, I don't
played
even have.
last year.
Yeah, he played like the last 3 or 4 weeks.
And that's how much I
Guess
noticed
how
it.
many touchdown
Like
passes he threw
2
last year?
touchdowns.
Exactly 2 touchdown
Oh
passes.
my god, bro.
Exactly 2 touchdown passes.
Gosh. There's just certain
It's
people that shouldn't
unfortunate. You know
play.
who's the biggest loser on that team? Kyle Pitts.
Kyle Pitts.
Oh, bro, Kyle, man.
And they went out and got Jonnu.
Yeah, they got Jonnu Smith.
That's funny. Yeah, man.
FIU
Kyle, what a
legend.
wasted talent, man, on the Falcons. He's such a monster too.
And I don't even get it because London was actually good for them last year. So I
He
don't
was
get why
good.
they can't get the ball to Kyle Pitts.
They don't have a quarterback. Marcus
Yeah.
Mariota's he's not a gunslinger like that, you know.
Yeah.
I was just shocked. They were like, "Oh, we can't get Kyle Pitts the ball." It's like, did you not see? Like how you said, do you not see who's at quarterback? We saw it in Tennessee. We saw how it worked. When they benched him and put Ryan Tannehill, they were a game away from the Super Bowl. Like that kind of tells you how it's not that Marcus Mariota is a bad quarterback. I just don't think he's a good one either.
No, definitely. He's a backup for sure at this point at best. But the Falcons are probably like, you know, they're in rebuild mode. They're not really trying to even like win games, maybe just try to look competitive.
Look at the signings they made. They signed Bates 4 years, 64 million. They gave out, I believe it's the richest contract ever for a guard, 5 years, 102.5 million for Kurtz Lindstrom. They re-signed their tackle Caleb McGarry for 3 years, 34.5 million. So it's like, what? Like, yeah. I didn't think this team was going to be any more competitive with these guys than I thought before when I saw how they finished this season. But I mean, you got to build for something. So
you got to give your fans something to get excited about.
The one move I hated the most, just because I knew the situation going into offseason with Lamar, I thought Lamar could thrive in New York with the Giants because I was like, why would you sign Daniel Jones when you know Lamar is available and you have the their pick is in the 20s, so it's like, all right, if you give up a first round pick this year, it's in the late 20s. I don't think any player in the late 20s this year is better than Lamar. And then imagine the running game Brian Daboll could like dial up with Lamar and Saquon. I was like, and the weapons are actually going to be better than what he's had all of his year in Baltimore. So I'm like, I thought the Giants should have made that move, but that's just me.
You guys think he'll sit out if he doesn't come
Dude,
to anything?
I don't even know what's gonna happen at this point.
I legit don't
know. I
know.
hope he does, honestly.
I mean, I would too if there's a team saying I'm going to start Desmond Ridder as my starting quarterback. Like, we're not even interested in you. I have Desmond Ridder. I would be like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah. Honestly, everything that said no, we're not interested. I'm like, bro.
I think the league's kind of trying to blackball him too.
There's something going on.
He's like, going about his business like differently. The dude doesn't have an agent. He's always kind of been like had the league against him, trying to switch positions, and he's not your prototypical quarterback, so they're definitely trying to blackball him. But I hope he just sits out, and if he doesn't get a trade or get paid.
I
hope he gets paid too, but I don't think
because I love Lamar.
What he wants.
I love Lamar, and I get the injury concern and all of that because he is a guy that runs, but. And he's missed the last two regular season finales. So like I get that there is legit injury concern, but the guy has won an MVP. Like there's an MVP quarterback available. He's still young. It's not like he's washed up. The Jets are about to trade whatever is possible to get Aaron Rodgers, who had his worst year that we've seen in the last 3, and there's still no questions there. The Giants, Danny Dimes has one good year. Oh, here's the bag.
Yeah, that was crazy.
You didn't even get over.
And then there's people there's people on I love ESPN, listening to ESPN talk about the Dolphins, and then they're like, there was a segment with Dan Orlovsky, and they're like questioning whether they should pick up Tua's 5th-year option. This was a few weeks ago, and Dan Orlovsky's like, dude, Daniel Jones just got 150 mil, 85 guaranteed. And and he's never come close to what Tua did last year, and you guys are like questioning. Like him getting a 5th-year option. Like, come on, dude.
Like, credit to the man because he took the money, and I was like, bro, if someone were to offer me that and I'm not a good quarterback, I'm like, bro, where am I?
They screwed up because they didn't pick up his 5th-year option.
Yeah, that's probably the only bad thing about it.
And that's why they had to pay him. And really quick on Lamar, I think what happened. What I think the biggest thing that's like screwing him over right now is the Deshaun Watson deal.
Bro, that contract screwed the whole NFL.
Yeah, and it sucks for him because that's a lot of money to begin with, even for him, and obviously he's gonna go to the table and say like, dude, Deshaun Watson got this contract, and I can't get this contract after everything that he just went through. Yeah. So
Lamar didn't do anything off the field. He has an MVP, unlike Deshaun. I understand Deshaun is he's a great passer, much better passer than Lamar. I'm not gonna.
He didn't play for 2 years. He didn't play for like 2 years. Yeah.
But I'm like, we still
tore his ACL in the NFL.
Yep. Yeah. And we still have to give Lamar credit because I'm like, he did have the year he won MVP, 36 passing touchdowns that led the NFL. So it's not like Lamar's a bad throw to football. I just feel he's a little inconsistent.
I think Lamar's a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts to me. Pure quarterback.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, that I agree with. I like Jalen, but come on, if I had to pick between him and Lamar, it's Lamar all day. But
dude, Lamar, and look at Lamar's weapons, man. What has he had he's never had a true number 1 receiver. He's always had, Mark
Hollywood
Andrews.
Brown.
Yeah, but Hollywood Brown's like a burner, maybe a slot receiver. He could have good games. But he won an MVP with
Mark
mid-tier at best. Yeah, mid-tier at best. Skills positions.
Oh man, got to give a lot of credit to Lamar because he's dealing with a bunch of stuff. So that's going to be there. But I'm going to switch the subject a bit. Jacob, me and Myles talked about this a little bit more in depth after we recorded last week, and we see fans whenever because the playoffs are coming up. And we've seen it in the World Cup and a bunch of other sports that after a team wins a title, you see fans cry, just like tears of joy. So I got to know which team, if they were to win a title, would legit make you cry.
Yeah, for sure. The Dolphins at this point of my life. It's got to be. I've already lived through just a couple of championships with the Heat, which was, The
Those
Heat
were
have
like
always been my
the
favorite
big three
team.
champion. That big three era was
They
something.
were great. I remember as a kid, funny story, in 2003 when the Marlins won the World Series, and my dad grew up. My dad's a huge baseball fan. My grandfather was a professional baseball player in Cuba, and I remember him crying that the Marlins won the World Series. But I was like, kind of like whatever about it. I didn't really care.
It's like
But that'd be pretty cool too to see if they win the World Series. But I think they're pretty far off from that. But for sure the Finns, man. I mean, I think a lot of people would cry in this city if the Finns won a Super Bowl. That'd be pretty special.
It definitely would be, and just because of all the things that they've been through, and it just seems like you're just so used to them letting you down, whether it's on the field with performance or next thing you know, our coach try to get
Yeah,
Tom Brady or our owner try to get Tom Brady, and now we're docked a first round pick, or we have
bullying.
we have a bullying scandal, or we have an offensive line coach doing illicit drugs
Oh my
desk
God.
and has to get fired in the middle of the season. It's just
I
always
forgot
something
about
with
that.
those guys, man. It's always something.
Nah, definitely. All that definitely makes it like sweeter because you endured all that pain and agony, and for sure,
I
for
can only
sure.
dream. I can only dream. I can't even imagine them getting that far. Like I was telling Angel, honestly, I might cry if we just make it to the Super Bowl.
Or if
Like,
we win a
getting the
playoff
AFC
game,
Championship game.
if they win a playoff game, I might shed a tear. Maybe. Who knows?
Because it's just
If
so
it's in
it's been
spectacular
heartbreak
fashion, I
after
might shed a tear.
heartbreak after heartbreak. That's the problem.
Yeah.
So it has to be a team like that. I was saying a team that probably would get a lot of votes for people as well is like the Detroit Lions because they've been through so much as well. I
they've
mean, we
been
saw
so
them go
bad.
16.
Oh yeah.
Man, but I guys, you said the Finns, Myles said the Finns too, bro. Mine's, I legit said it. I'm like, bro, I just need to see the Yankees win like one title because like I've
Oh,
gone
come on.
That's what I said. That's literally what I said. I said
The
okay. So
Yankees, they have like
what,
28 World Series.
all right. So when they went on their dynasty, like in the '90s and like early 2000s, I barely knew what the hell was going on. I was like, all right, cool. I have no idea what's going on. I have no idea what's on TV. I didn't watch any of it. I've experienced 09, but I was like, okay, this is what it's going to be. I will win a World Series every year. After that, all of it just like it goes downhill. And I was like, what is going on? And then 17 to lose, to be cheated out of it. 2018 to be cheated out of it. 2019, I feel like we were cheated out of it. And then, bro, I kid you not, when you talk about coaching with like Tua, I felt the same thing with the Yanks, bro. I kid you not. I will pay so much amount of money to get this coach Aaron Boone fired. Bro, I legit think this dude's an idiot. Like, I could take a 5-year-old and say, just sit down and do nothing, and they will have a better record than this dude. Because, bro, this dude makes me want to pull my hair out. It's like, how can you be so stupid in this?
Yeah, in
So
the playoffs.
So I'm like, all right, if I just need to see one. I just need to see one because, like we all said, with the Heat, we saw Wade in 06 dominate, and then we saw the Big Three era dominate. We were close in the bubble that unfortunately didn't get it done. And then last year we just didn't get it done. But I would say the Yanks are definitely mine. And then I remember when Myles talked about it, it was I forgot what episode we did, but it was when Myles considered a season failure and he like listed all the quarterbacks that the Dolphins went through from like probably since what, like 05? Like all the quarterbacks. He named like
since Marino, it's probably been like I'm not even kidding, like 20 plus at least.
Bro, that's a lot of quarterbacks to go through that list that tried to be good. And then the closest thing was what, Pennington and Tannehill, because they both did make the playoffs.
Which is like, how close is that even?
Yeah,
not close.
And then
Cleo Lemon, baby. I was watching during Cleo Lemon.
That's how you know a fan. That's how you know.
Yeah, it can't ever get worse than that. That's the lowest. That's how low the bar is.
Yeah, Cleo Lemon, Tyler Thigpen. I remember that era.
Yeah.
That was
My God.
not fun. That was not fun. And it always seemed like it was our backup quarterback that might have been better than our starter. Because remember, it was like we had Matt Moore. Matt Moore.
Matt Moore's a legend, bro.
Chad Henne was like the backup for everybody for the next 15 years.
I hated Chad Henne so much.
Bro, Chad Henne has the same amount of Super Bowls as Peyton Manning. Just let that
sink
in.
He just walked away as a champ.
As a champ, man. Like, he can't even be mad at it.
With a beer in his hand.
Bro, that's like, I'm like, how could I be mad at you for that?
I'm happy for him. I'm happy for him, honestly.
It can't even it still doesn't even make sense that Jay Cutler was our quarterback for a season like that.
Bro, I forgot about Jay Cutler.
That
Yeah,
doesn't even
dude.
make sense. I remember when we
He
had the preseason game. You remember they used to do like the final game practice before the preseason game started. They would do it at Hard Rock Stadium, and the
Oh
chants were
yeah, that's
for
great.
chanting for
Yeah,
Kyle Orton, bro. I was like,
Oh my
oh my
God,
god, we're so
that's
down bad.
funny.
man, that's
Jay
a,
Cutler, man. That's all Adam Gase, man. He probably called him up like, "Hey, my starting QB just got hurt," and Jay Cutler's like answers the phone and throws a cigarette on the floor. He's
Yeah, he's
like,
like,
"All right,
how
I'm
much did you say
coming."
that check was for?
Straight up.
I'm on the way.
bro. Credit to Jay Cutler because I've never seen a guy get so many opportunities at quarterback than him.
I mean,
Bro.
he was a gunslinger. You don't
He
know where
had
that
an
gun
arm
was
for
pointed
He had
or
an
sure.
arm, but he was just
he
not
was a
good.
gunslinger.
He's just a bad leader, and he didn't have like that fire, you know,
Yeah,
Bro.
that
he had
that
no dog.
fire that no dog,
No
And
not
dog.
like yeah.
that kind of says it because, like, I mean, we could probably say the person with the most passion outside of like this current team now. Before, I honestly thought it was Jarvis Landry that showed the most heart on the field.
Dude, Jarvis Landry would die for those 2 yards of pass.
Yeah,
I'd take him on I think he's a free agent right now. I'd take
yeah,
him on
he
like
still is
a really cheap, vet minimum. I would like him.
He
Throw him
was
in
such
there.
a dog for us.
because that man
Yeah.
gave up his body for every
And
yard.
every yard and every single
Yeah.
pass he was catching it at the line of scrimmage with
Facts.
7 people already around him.
I'm glad that he got paid too when he went to Cleveland. I think they gave him like 4 over 75, something like
And
that.
it was
I'm glad
cool that he got to play with Odell too in Cleveland.
Yeah.
It was.
That part is good. But now
Yeah, shout
we've
out
had a good
Jarvis.
amount of time to talk Finn. So sadly, Miles, we got to talk about this again, but now we got someone else to say it. The Miami Heat.
Oh,
And
geez.
Moya, I don't know about you, but
Oh, geez.
You gotta take a deep
we just
breath.
said like this is one of like the least fun teams we've ever watched. And now that we're basically in the play-in, and like let's how far can the Heat go like in the playoffs?
It's definitely one of like the most disappointing seasons. It kind of reminds me of like the couple years before LeBron got to Miami where Wade was just like carrying us and we were like putrid besides him.
Oh my gosh.
Because I see kind of the same thing with Jimmy right now. Like if Jimmy's not playing like all world and we're like barely
bad.
winning too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
like it's
Pistons game, he had to score all the points in the
I
fourth
feel
quarter.
bad for him, man. I feel bad for him. How far can we go? I think
Straight to our couch.
Yeah, like I think honestly, one of their biggest flaws is like Spo. I think this is one of Spo's worst years as a coach for a couple reasons. I
Okay.
think that he's letting like the players kind of dictate what he should or shouldn't be doing, whether it's like rotations or playing guys and stuff. Like for example, I think one of the Heat's biggest weaknesses is having Tyler Hero in the starting lineup because when you look back to our success a couple of years ago, when we had Duncan and even when we got Strus the next year, those guys kind of fit like perfectly with Jimmy and Bam. They can just spread the floor. All they have to do is catch and shoot, run around screens. You know, they'll be like a gravity for defense, like to gravitate towards them. And Tyler is not. He can shoot. Obviously, he's a good shooter, but he's not like a catch and shoot, quick release guy. And he's a guy that needs the ball in his hands, creating. I really like him coming off the bench, kind of like Jordan Poole right now. Like Jordan Poole, he could start on almost like any team in the league, but Steve Kerr knows that when you have pop like that off the bench, it just makes your team so much more lethal. So I
Yeah.
think like if Spo keeps like his I like him moving Kevin Love to the bench.
Dude, he's so bad. I don't know why
He's
Yeah,
bad.
he's so bad. I can't believe that he started for as long as he did. But I think their
They had
best
to have like
chance.
guaranteed him a starting spot for him to sign, and they were just like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
like, and
never
then
mind."
and then like another thing is like why is Bam not playing like 40 minutes a game? Like he's young. Why is he always like he's only playing him about 30, 32 minutes a night? He brings him out at the worst times, and then you bring in like your weak backup five, whether it's K Love or Zeller. You know, like I think Bam, he should be rolling Bam as long as he's healthy, and keep a lot of shooters on the floor. But if he doesn't do that, then we're gonna get mopped, man. We don't have enough like head-to-head talent to go against even if we make it out of the play-in to go against like Milwaukee or Boston. Like, I don't think we'll get swept because I think we're still a tough team. We're still the Miami Heat.
I
But
gave us one game. Like one game. If we make it to either Boston or
I'm
Milwaukee, I
hopeful
legit
for
think
like
it's 5.
6. And losing PJ was like a huge loss too. They haven't been able to replace him at all. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. It's been a tough year to watch for sure.
Myles proposed this to me last week when we recorded. He proposed to trade Jimmy to actually someone more that I think about it, it's actually not a bad fit. It's actually good considering their play styles are very similar. Trade him to Denver and pair him with Jokic, and maybe we get something from Denver.
That'd be a nice fit for Denver.
The only way I think that happens is if we just straight lose in the play-in. Like, not, we lose the first one and then we won the second one where they like, don't make the playoffs. Like, we made the play-in and just don't qualify. Then I think anything's on the table. But I really don't see too many paths forward for this team. I mean, you're probably going to be able to try to trade Kyle this year because he's going to be an expiring. But it's not like you're getting anything of value back. And if you think you're getting anything of value back, it's going to have a worse contract attached to it. And then, I mean, same goes for Duncan. And Duncan, you're probably going to have to attach something.
They can't get rid of Duncan. They're stuck with him.
Yeah,
they're stuck with Duncan.
So I don't know what you do there. I think Strus has probably regressed from where he was last year.
And they'll probably lose him for
he's
sure.
A free agent.
Yeah.
I personally like Vincent. I do see why people can go hot and cold on him because he's one of those guys that's never seen a shot that he doesn't like. Like, he's going to shoot that basketball. But I do like that about him. You need that from some of your players.
Yeah.
But then you look at the rest of the roster, and it's just like,
we're not good.
So we got Jimmy, Bam, Tyler, Vincent.
That's where all the money's at.
Caleb Martin. That's it.
I don't mind like some of the guys that we have, but I just don't like them in the roles that they're in. Which is like I think the main problem. Like Caleb starting for like more than half the season at 4. That's insane. Come on, man. Like, and you got to give him credit for at least doing a serviceable, job, like, doing his best.
He plays hard regardless.
Yeah, he's going to
play hard,
and he's playing hard.
And I love him off the bench.
Him off the bench last year was one of our probably best strengths.
Definitely. Like, and that's what I'm saying. Last year, think about our mix. We have our shooting guard. You're either starting Duncan or Strus. All they have to do is run around screens and shoot threes.
And just get open, create space.
Then our bench, we have maybe like a top 3 bench in the league because we have the 6th man of the year. You have Gabe Vincent. You have Caleb Martin. And that's probably already like 40 points off your bench like that. And those guys are going against second unit players. But now Tyler's trying to fit into the starting lineup. Then the bench is extra weak. You don't really have like a go-to guy off the bench. Like nobody's really in that role.
Yeah.
So you're just hoping for somebody to have a good game, but you can't really like rely on your bench, which is really weak. And that was a huge like plus for us last year.
Yeah.
And I'm just interested to see what they do because their philosophy is always like, we'll find guys, like we'll get undrafted guys, we'll get discount bin. But it's like, all right, this year, none of those guys produced or exceeded expectations like they have in years prior. So like now are they going to go the veteran route? But are you going to go the veteran route and get another Kyle Lowry, another Kevin Love, another Dwayne Dedman? I hope not.
Please though.
Because like you look at it, it's Highsmith. Who, he played a little bit, then boom.
I think he should play more.
Right, he locks up, he just can't shoot.
He plays hard.
He can't shoot, yeah.
But then boom, gone. Jovic, they drafted, and
we don't see him on the floor.
He's not an NBA player.
He's a project. Like
Victor, I've been out on Victor since he's come back.
He's done. I feel bad for him, even though I like him, but he's done.
Yeah,
he's done.
He's a nice guy. It's just he just is not as quick as he is.
He's not the same guy.
He hasn't.
The injuries have screwed Oladipo so bad. Like,
man. I mean, he's a quad tendon tear, and he's had 2 surgeries on it. Yeah. That's
and then you look at the rest of the roster. It's Yurtseven, who we thought there was potential going into the year. He got injured.
I don't know why he doesn't play more.
Exactly.
I think they're done with him. I think they're sending him.
I don't know why.
Orlando Robinson, I'm good on him. Like, it's just a bunch of random dudes.
Oh, God. Gosh,
Yeah.
bro, this team
That's the
just
problem.
That's the thing with the Heat. Like we don't have, that they're kind of their hands are kind of tied, and Mickey Arison hasn't really been kind of like Steven Ross. Like he's not opening up the checkbook. He's very conservative. They're not trying to overpay guys. Like going in the buyout market, which I think was like so dumb. They might have to trade
Remember,
Jimmy.
we would have to trade people. We waived Mike Miller to get under the luxury cap. We'd always
Yeah.
do those little moves where we're trading 6
These
second
little
round
ones.
picks just to get under the luxury tax.
and that's why
Hey.
I did like the move of like saying, man, I really want us to have like a future. And as I hate to say this because I love Jimmy, because when you look at Heat culture, I could generally say Jimmy does fit that image. But it's like in order to Heat to be good for like the next 5 years, we have to trade Jimmy
The
for at
thing
least
is,
something.
what would they get for
Nothing.
I'm sure they'd get. He's definitely worth like a big haul. But what realistically, like, would they get for him? He's gonna be like 34 or 35, I think. He's still playing at an ultra high level.
Yeah.
For sure. But if you're basically saying to your franchise, if you trade Jimmy, and I doubt that you're gonna get, like, you're either gonna get young assets and good draft capital, because I don't really see him being like swapped
I don't
for
think
like
you get
another
both.
elite player.
Yeah, I think you get one or the other, considering where he's at, how long he's been playing, what his age is. But like, think about it. Okay, so if the KD trade doesn't happen and we go into the summer, and Phoenix calls and says, "Yo, we'll give you Bridges and Johnson for Jimmy,"
I would take that. Because I like
that's the call I'm usually hanging up. But after this year, I'm like, dude, I gotta talk.
I
gotta talk,
man.
I mean, if they put a pick with it, I would take it because
Jimmy's
Cam Johnson is a shooter.
Jimmy's awesome, man. Jimmy is such a good player. Like I think he's
been
the world
so
of Jimmy.
good down here.
So good, man. He's having his best season.
He should be all NBA, even though the Heat are bad. Like that's my argument.
He should make second team for sure. Like I'll put him over Siakam. Like I don't care. He's that guy. Like
don't mind that. I like Siakam, but like his impact on the Raptors, he has a much better team around him.
Jimmy's averaging, I think he's averaging like 23 on like 53% from the field, like 85 from the line.
No threes. Just
no threes.
Free throw lines.
He's like second in the league in lockdown defense. Yeah. Like he's awesome, man. So, but I think the bad part about trading him is that the message that you're gonna send to the team and the franchise and the city is like we're not competing anymore. Like we thought we were.
Taking a step back,
which is gonna suck. So it's a sticky situation for sure, man. I don't know. I think their best option, which is it's gonna be tough, is to try to retool somehow. Add a 4, maybe. I don't know.
I think their best option, honestly, is if Dame Lillard just says, "Yo, I'm not playing here anymore. I want to play in Miami with Jimmy and Bam,
Tyler, and 5 first-round picks. I don't care how many it is.
Like I'm right there with you.
Whatever it takes.
Tyler, I love you, but bro,
that'd be a perfect fit. That would be a perfect fit.
Bro. I think that's legit the only saving grace is if he specifically is like, all right, I'm never playing in Portland again, and I only want to go to the Heat.
Oh my god!
Which he should, honestly, after this year, he should like get real with himself and be like, all right, like I'm not, like I'm a Hall of Fame player. I'm still playing at that type of level. Like I've given everything to the city. Like let me try to, go chase a ring, man. Just
if it's not
like,
Steph Curry,
you deserve to be a champion.
Make the argument Dame is the best point guard in basketball. If it's not for Steph, we could say Dame is like the
top. He's still like top 3, top 5 for sure. Because I'll probably get like Steph and Ja. I love Ja.
Yeah.
And then Dame's probably like right there, like right after both.
Bro, Dame could shoot it almost as good as Steph. Like
he could shoot it, but probably yeah.
And he does it off the dribble more.
Yeah.
Definitely comes off a lot of
but he's and I think he's gonna age with grace too, because he doesn't rely too much like on his like athleticism. So
yeah.
Man, yeah, that'd be a perfect fit. I'm dreaming for that, but let's see. Let's see what they want to do.
Man, that we've talked about it so much. How we just want like Dame to say, like, bro, just say you want to come to Miami. Like, I understand you're afraid of like what's happened to Westbrook, how he's just gone to like basically now every team in basketball. But like, come on. Like Westbrook didn't make improvements to his game. I hate to say this for us because I think he's great, but like he just never made improvements. Dame, you went from like a point guard to like trying to play team ball, then you went to like a scorer. Now you're one of the best shooters in all of basketball. Like you've made improvements to your game. Like you can fit with Jimmy because we've talked about how
he's
Jimmy's
far
not
more
always
valuable
aggressive.
for sure.
Dame will be aggressive.
Yeah, he's definitely more valuable than like what Russ is right now, just because of like the evolution of the game and like the way it's played, and like he's everything that you want like in like a star point guard like that. Man, like just thinking about it, oh man, that'd be perfect. But yeah, I don't know.
That's the only
I don't know
saving grace
about the
of this
assets,
team.
man.
I just don't get what we do. I just don't. I mean, that's why I don't have the job. It's not my job. I hope
Yeah,
they
I gotta
figure
take
it
a
out.
look. I'm actually curious to like look at like pending free agents and like guys in bad situations. Like he's for sure probably like the number one guy. But I gotta take. I think. Oh no, Fred VanVleet is not a. I don't think he's a free
I
agent.
think he
I
is a
gotta.
free
I gotta
agent.
Yeah,
look at
he's
other guys.
pending this year.
He's
I
pending.
think he might be.
He wouldn't be. He wouldn't be bad.
I don't know. I don't want
I'm
to go
not
that
going
same
back
route of
to
calling
another
Toronto for
Toronto
a point guard.
Raptors point guard. Yeah,
More Raptors players.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm done with
like,
that. I'm
Be
unless
an
done.
it's
upgrade
Siakam,
from what
I
we have
don't want
now.
him.
I'm done with the undersized Raptors point guards. They can just play for a different team.
Bro,
I'm done with that.
man.
We gotta see. I will give it to the Heat though that they are good at like finding. Although they're too reliant on it, but they are good at finding
Yeah, the diamonds.
undervalued like
Yeah,
talent or players, and then getting the most out of them. But like I think this year is a case where they're like relying on it too much.
too
Like you
much.
can't
Yeah,
rely on that like too much.
because even
Yeah.
when we went to the bubble, right? You had K Nunn, you had
Yeah.
Tyler
Yeah.
Hero as a rookie, you had,
Mhm.
but you still had veterans around them. They traded for Crowder, they traded for Iguodala. They had Goran Dragic as a backup point guard. So you can have these younger pieces, but supplement them with veterans. But like they
Mhm.
can't be Kevin Love. Like it can't be washed up Kevin Love. But I will give them credit. I will give them credit because I'm over here dying and crying about this team, and they're only 7th in the East. It's not like they're 11th. Like it's not like
Yeah.
they're
Right.
outside looking in.
They have the
If
same
they're
record as the Warriors.
Yeah, I'm like literally like, all right, like if this is the worst it's gonna be, like I'll still be
Yeah.
really happy to be a fan of this team. It's just I've been spoiled. I had LeBron come down here. Jimmy took me to the finals, and like he almost took me to another finals with a 3-point shot last year. So
Yeah.
it's like I want to continue to improve on that.
bro, gosh,
Definitely,
man.
and I think that I'm actually like I've always been like proud and happy to be a Heat fan for that simple fact that I can't really remember besides that one year in 2008 where they've like completely tanked. Like
Oh,
they always try to be competitive, even if we're like a bottom 7 or 8 seed. Like they're still fighting, which is like it's cool to have like year in and year out.
no, I love it, but man, there's just times where I'm like, could we talked about rebuilding teams. Like, I want to be in a spot where like OKC is because I love their future. We talked about the Magic. We think the Magic
they're
actually have a good
Oh
future.
yeah.
Like a
They're
good
coming, man. It's starting to turn. Like all those teams that have sucked for like the last like 10 years of our lives, 10, 15 years, like the
They're gonna be
talent's
good.
finally starting to get there. Yeah, the Magic are loaded. The Jazz in like a couple of years are gonna they have so many picks. They have like 11 first-round picks
That's
in
just
like
way
the
too
next
much.
4 or 5 years, I think. They have a ton, dude. They have
They got
so
all
many.
of Cleveland's. They got all of Minnesota's.
Yeah, they have so many.
Bro, gosh,
Yeah, those bad teams are gonna start being good soon.
man. Because we talked about Franz. I like Franz. How you could build really with your forwards and then the guards. You have Jalen Suggs, who's been
Markel
like he's been
Fultz.
solid.
Fultz
Markel
has been
Fultz has turned it
balling.
He's
around.
balling. I
Cole
always loved
Anthony
him
is
too.
great to have off the bench, and I'm like, man, like
They're gonna
they
get
have
rid of one of
pieces.
those guys for sure.
Oh yeah, one of them will be traded, but I'm like, man, they
Yeah.
have like at least they have the building blocks. It's like, all right, we know we have a core that we can build around,
And you
Yeah.
can
go
see
from
a
there.
solid team coming from that core, like you
Yeah.
see the vision.
Talent.
I mean, we
Talent
know
will
the Magic
supersede
always play the
everything.
Heat to like their hardest. They actually play their best when they play against the Heat for some reason.
They've been playing a lot of like good teams like hard this year. From
Yeah,
every time I like check box scores and stuff, they're always like playing really tough.
them OKC is actually playing so much better now, but man,
So much better. But Shea's been out.
When they get Chet and they pair him with Shai and Giddy, and they have that rookie
yeah,
Jay Williams.
Yeah, but
He's
they got
gonna be
J-Dub.
nice. He's
Yeah.
nice. He's gonna be
good.
really nice. Yeah, he's nice.
Man,
Yeah.
they got a real solid roster. But now this will lead us into our final topic. I texted you it ahead of time so that way you got it. I told Myles what
I
you
was
were going to
thinking
do.
about this one.
All-time starting five. So before you tell us, we'll tell you what me and Myles formed a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
We got Steph. We put Wade, Braun, Tim Duncan, and Kareem. And if we wanted to
Really?
go small, we would replace Tim with KD.
Okay. That's a solid starting five.
Because we were
no
like,
doubt.
all right, guys who could play together. We have to think like who can generally like. We're like we know Wade and LeBron could play
All
together.
right. Are we talking like personal favorite starting five, or are we talking like the best?
Oh no, just like if you
five?
were to make a starting five that could play together, you're like this team could legit go out there and like win a championship with their eyes closed.
Oh, that's easy for me. All right, so I had thought about it. If that's the case, and I'll have counter arguments because I feel like you guys are gonna be like, can they really play together? But I'm gonna be like, come on, like they could play together. All right, so starting five, sort of positionless basketball here. 5 best players I can think of on the basketball court together: Kobe, Mike, LeBron, KD, and Shaq.
No, we thought about that. The only reason we just didn't win because we were like, all right, we need guys who could pass the basketball. That's our
LeBron.
argument.
LeBron's my point guard.
Oh no, that was the same with us. We have Braun as the point, and we were like Steph off ball because I love Steph off ball.
Oh yeah,
You're only gonna have 4 players because Kobe's just gonna be copying everything Michael Jordan's doing.
I think Kobe's like, to me, I think Kobe's top 3 all time. I hold Kobe high up there. I think Kobe is like super overlooked when it comes to like GOAT conversations.
I could see the argument. The only thing is just always going to be with Kobe is that he wasn't really the best teammate, which I get. But when you talk about play, man, Kobe is like,
and the way he like prepared himself.
Mike wasn't either though.
Yeah,
Mike wasn't the best teammate either. But he just had I don't know. There's just something about like that fierce competitive like meanness that I love about like a player, especially in basketball, like that mentality that they just want to go out there and kill and attack. Oh, I love that.
We did talk about the argument where like we might have to face a team that has MJ and Shaq because like Shaq was probably the most dominant force ever in history of basketball, and I'll still hold that argument to this day.
Oh yeah.
How could you stop a guy that's 7 feet, over 300 pounds from scoring? Like that's impossible.
Yeah. Jump out the gym. And Shaq had skill too. People forget. Shaq had skill. He had post moves, little turnaround right hook shot over the shoulder. He was a good passer out of the post. Like, so you pair that with the size, like you said, like most dominant player of all time.
Dang. So I do like your team. The only thing is just when it comes to like it's the Jordan and Kobe. It's like, all right, last shot, who's gonna take it?
Rock, paper, scissors.
All right. I know for us, I think we were on Wade, right, Myles?
We had
Wade's
Wade.
my favorite player. So if I was going off favorites, I'd have him in there too. But if I'm just going off straight like monsters like that I can think of in a starting 5, that's what I would go with.
Because we love Wade. Like we're like, all right, you got a slasher to the basket. I say the second best defensive shooting guard in the history of basketball just because he has so many blocks. He gets all the steals. And he generally was better like guarding. Obviously, he learned some like tips and tricks from Kobe. But like when it was just like instincts, I feel like Wade had it because Kobe generally learned. So I was like, all right, we can have Wade play defense. Tim is probably like the most boring superstar ever, but you know he was going to play team basketball. And then we were just
He's
like
a beast too.
Yeah. And we were like, who's going to block the sky hook? Who can block it?
So who was your guys? You had Steph, Wade,
Braun,
LeBron,
Tim,
and Kareem. Yeah, that's a good for sure. That's a good defensively. The only liability would be Steph on defense, but I mean, so much firepower, you can get away with it.
You can hide him.
Yeah.
Let him play 4 and 5, honestly.
Not against Kobe though. If Kobe's guarding Steph, it's over.
Yeah, that would be tough. But I felt like it was because we were like, man, when people make all-time starting 5s, they always put like, all right, who's the best point guard of all time? Yeah. But I was like, all right, like, can they legit play together? Because I don't think a team, like when you put Magic and Braun, I was like, both of them really need the ball in their hands. So I was like, one has to be on the team and the other one, like, I hate to say this, like, bro, I kind of have to sit you out.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I kind of think of it like, I think with that kind of basketball, like genius, like all those guys are like savants to me, right? Like a lot of those greats. So I think like, I kind of think about it like Team USA kind of basketball. Like I feel like they can make it work. You know, I mean, obviously there'll probably be like some instances where it's like, because they're so used to like having it being all their show, but with that much like greatness, like I feel like it'll work.
Bro, it's definitely good. Myles, you got any critiques of his starting five?
No, I like it. I thought it was good. I thought it was a good five. I mean, having Braun is the cheat code because you can put him at point guard. But if you had Kobe at point guard, that would be an interesting test case.
Yeah, I wouldn't put Kobe at point guard, but that's like that goes to like with Braun. You know, Braun is a freak.
Yeah,
it's like 6'8",
most
260 PG. He really play 1 through 5. Really, if you think about it.
Yeah.
And then having Kobe off ball, that's actually more of a strength. Because then he could probably get his shot, get to his spot really quick. And then you have the mid-range with Mike. Mike, you have your mid-range. Kobe, you could probably just almost all.
I think like overall skill, I think Kobe might be like the most skilled player of all time. Like just pure skill overall. Like I'm not talking about like most efficient or even like the greatest, but as far as like skill, if you think about it, like he didn't really have like any like flaw that you can like really point out and be like, what, that's his weakness. Like spot up shooting, off the dribble, handle the ball, great on ball defender, super clutch. Wasn't really like didn't really turn the ball over a lot. Like maybe took a lot of shots, but he was on some bad teams at times, and that was kind of like his mentality. But man, Kobe was so skilled, man. Like I think people forget how good Kobe was. So skilled.
We know a couple of times because when he would play them, I still remember to this day that game winner he hit over Wade when I was like, oh, bro, we got this in the bag.
Yeah.
That's Kobe
the banker.
Yeah. He hits that game winner, and I was like,
legendary.
Bro, I just turned off the TV and I was like, all right, bro, like that's it. I'm going to bed, bro. Like
one of my favorites is in 2009 when that series against the Nuggets. That's one of my favorite playoff series ever. And I think it's like game 3 or 4, and they're in Denver, and he's just going at J.R. Smith at the end of the game. Like the game's coming down the line, and he's hitting clutch shot, like the pump fakes and the double clutches, and he's just hitting them in his face, and then he's running back down the court, and he has like that mug, like that. I'm like, oh my god, like this dude's a friggin' dog, bro. I love that, man. Miss Kobe.
God rest his soul. Like that's
facts.
I remember when it happened because I know we had class the following Monday, and I saw Myles. I was just like, bro,
I couldn't believe it.
And then I was like,
and like the most random person texted me about it too. Like not even a sports fan. So I was like, bro, what? Like,
I got the text like right as soon as one of my boys like saw it in fantasy that I sent you a couple of trades, boy. He texted me. It was like probably like something really early when it happened, and he's like, bro, look at this. And I was like, bro, that's not true. He's like, bro, I think it's true. Look. And then I went through Twitter and it's updating more and more, and it's like people are like, yeah, it's official. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'll never forget. I was at the gym too, and my good friend he called me too, and he was like borderline about to cry. And then I see it on the TV at the gym, and I'm like, no way, dude. And the fact that his daughter was in it and all that, I was like,
that was fun.
Yeah. I didn't cry. I said mainly I was like, all right, just because I wasn't the biggest Kobe fan, I did say, Myles, I was like, if it was Wade, I would cry.
I can't
like for sure.
I'd
still be messed up about that.
I wouldn't blame you. I'll be like,
that's
bro,
really my childhood right there.
All of ours, bro.
Facts.
I mean, hell, bro, seeing him that 09 season leading the league and scoring, like, I still make the argument. If you look at Steph's like unanimous MVP season, Wade's 09, I'm like, I'll still take Wade in 09, but that's just me.
Oh yeah, I mean, Wade was
he was so built. LeBron said, I need to play with that guy.
Yeah, facts. He showed LeBron how to win. And yeah, it's crazy too, because I used to like always like I when especially like when I was a kid and like Wade, I feel like Wade wouldn't get as much love as he should have. Obviously, I'm biased. I'm a
hell
Heat
Oh
fan,
no,
and that's my favorite
that's just the
player.
truth.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would always kind of like hate on like especially LeBron and Kobe too a little bit. But I think after Kobe died, and Kobe was always one of my favorite players. Like he was always like top 3, top 5, like him, AI, and Wade. But I think I really gained like an appreciation for him after he died. Like looking back and like, damn, like this guy,
Because he was really like that.
because he was really like that, and that
He's
guy
got
was
the
like,
all
I
NBAs.
can't hate you if you're taking him over my guy D Wade. I can't
Oh
hate
no, I
you, but
can't hate
like,
that at all. It's just that
yeah. So
I'm a Heat fan.
exactly. So that was me. But like, man, like, what a player, dude. What a freaking player.
And then we can't deny the hard work. Like, bro, when Kobe was
Oh,
going
yeah.
to work, he was going to work. I'm like, I can't like deny, like, bro, this dude if he could practice 24/7, I legit think he would practice 24/7.
I
He
love
had
hearing
to-
the stories about him,
Yeah.
like in the gym at 3 a.m. on the
that
different
that Team
pods.
USA story where he's up
Yeah.
before everybody. Yeah, that's
The JJ Redick one, and I
Yeah.
think Mike Krzyzewski. I love those stories. It's like chilling. It's like oof, like
He was really built different, honestly.
different.
Bro.
Yeah.
That mindset he had when it was legit Mamba mentality, I was like, I know he copied Michael in a lot of ways, obviously, because we could all say that he went bald, he had all the gear, the knee sleeve, the everything. Like it was like Michael to the T. But I could legit say Kobe had more of a killer instinct than Michael, just because I was like, bro, this man ran Shaq out of town, ran Phil Jackson out of town, then
Yeah.
begged for Phil to come back and did everything he can to prove I can win a ring without Shaq.
Everything he could have.
Starving. He was starving.
Literally.
He was literally starving.
And he beat
For
a
a ring
really
without
good
Shaq.
Boston team.
Yeah.
A really good
Yeah,
Boston.
dude.
Man.
Kobe.
Bro.
Glad we got to talk a little bit about that. That was cool.
Yeah, that was a good way to end it.
Yeah, real good way. So we're gonna end this real quick. Moya, stay on for us a little bit because I have something to ask you after. But Thank you so much for coming on. And note, this is live. So if you want, you can send your family to YouTube link. Just anyone out there, 305 Takes podcast. Always rewatch it. And then, I mean, we always look back at it. I know Myles did for our Super Bowl one. That one was pretty bad.
Yeah.
That was
For sure. Yeah, it's super
real.
cool to be on a sports talk podcast. I love sports, so appreciate you guys for having me, and I'd love to be on anytime you guys want me on.
Thank you for joining us as always, homie.